Okay, Ukraine and Plato's Cave, and we won't even keep it just on Ukraine. We'll also talk about money going to Israel and Taiwan, Pacific Rim as well. Um, so, Plato's Cave, you're not familiar. I've talked about it before here on the program, and it's an interesting read. And Plato's Cave, in essence, is talking about people that, I guess, like a better phrase, I will paraphrase Plato. Uh, People that are unwilling to look into the light. In essence, talks about people that are unenlightened, people that are not um, inquisitive, not willing to question the reality that's presented to them. And the idea of Plato's cave is people are actually sitting in a cave, looking at a wall. The light is behind them, and all that they can see is the shadows on the wall. And that is their entire perception of the world and how that's presented to them. Then they're unwilling to become enlightened and turn into the light. Again, many people, unfortunately, they go through life by listening to talking heads, by not digging deeper. And you really need to do so. You really need to put a little effort in and work in. And as soon as I see a narrative we talk about here on the program, trying to dispel narratives that are created and how you're pushed, or we are pushed by the media, by the powers that be in a certain direction. There was an opinion piece in the Wall Street Journal today that quite frankly, it was one of those Michael Corleone, Carlo moments. Completely insulted my intelligence. The headline is "The House Votes for a Strong America. Large bipartisan majorities vote for more U.S. weapons and aid for Ukraine, Israel, and Taiwan." It might as well, cue up some patriotic music here in this Wall Street Journal piece. American allies, enemies start to wonder if the U.S. is too consumed with infighting to defend itself and its interests. So put down a marker. Even a dysfunctional and narrowly divided Congress perceives the world's dangers and has decided to meet the occasion. Right. Again, we've talked about this here at length on the program. And again, you actually dig a little bit deeper into some of this stuff here. It's amazing to me that what needs to take place here. Republicans are, what are they? They're calling on Joe Biden, giving him all this money, calling on Joe Biden to make sure you give us a plan for Ukraine within the next 60 days. And I want you to get your arms around that. We've already spent billions upon billions of dollars. We're about to spend billions and billions more. Again, is anyone asking the question where the money's coming from? It's being borrowed. All of this money is going to be borrowed. And interestingly enough, we got to help Israel out. Why again? Why can't Israel borrow the money? I mean, this is an advanced economy, for crying out loud. I'm just throwing this out there. Why do we have to give them the money? Why don't Israel, issue some bonds and go out and borrow the money and then buy the weaponry that it needs? Why do we have to give it to them? Same thing with Taiwan. We just gave the most powerful Taiwanese company, Taiwan Semiconductor, billions of dollars to help them build a chip plant in Phoenix, and now we gotta spend billions more. Now, I get it. Some of this money is going for attack submarines that I think some of them stuff's going to go to Australia as well. But we don't have the money. This is Rand Paul put out a tweet. Ukrainian flags fly in the chamber of the United States House of Representatives as they vote to send more of your hard-earned money to a corrupt foreign regime. And just like that, they shout, Ukraine, Ukraine, while happily working to secure Ukraine's borders, not ours. And Thomas Massey as well, talking about how Mike Johnson and Democrats are celebrating his total capitulation with no victory for securing our border. He's right. Zelensky put out a tweet, very, very grateful. Very, very grateful. He said this in the tweet, which is interesting. He says, the vital U.S. aid bill passed today by the House will keep the war from expanding, save thousands and thousands of lives, and help both of our nations to become stronger. Just peace and security can only be attained through strength. So we're sending over all of these weapons and whatnot, and this is it's gonna keep people from being killed. Again, quite frankly, is that not slightly insulting to your intelligence as well? A great journalist by the name of Seymour Hersh, and we've covered him here and some of the reports that he's put out. Mainstream media will not. There's certain guys that they don't like to talk about. They certainly like to go to because they kind of, again, they dig too deep, and it goes against the narrative that everybody's pushing at that point in time. Seymour Hersh reported that the CIA director, wait for this, CIA director William Burns this past January, was in the Ukraine and had to warn Zelensky to stop stealing so much money. Yeah. The issue of corruption was directly raised with Zelensky in a meeting last January in Kiev. His message to the Ukrainian president, they said it was like out of a 1950s mob movie. The senior generals and government officials in Kiev were angry at what they saw as Zelensky's greed. So Burns told the Ukrainian president, because he was taking a larger share of the skim money than was going to the generals. William Burns also presented Zelensky with a list of 35 generals and senior officials whose corruption was known to the CIA and others in the American government. Zelensky then responded by firing 10 of the most ostentatious officials on the list. The 10 he got rid of were brazenly bragging about the money they had, driving around Kiev in their new Mercedes. Yeah. Hersh went on to note that by one estimate, CIA put the embezzled funds at $400 million last year. It's grand scheme. It's $400 million. This Swiss banks need money too. Come on, guys. We're sending, what's $400 billion amongst friends? Another piece. Again, you're not seeing this being covered by Fox News or CNN or any of the other usual establishment outlets out there. And this is strikingly up that this is a Beltway publication. This is in Foreign Affairs. Foreign Affairs is an inside the Beltway publication here, talking about the things that took place back in March of 2022 in regards to peace talks that could have been had, and how, in essence, the British government, Boris Johnson, really pushed back, and then we kind of went along with it. The whole thing could have been done and over with if there was some negotiation and some compromise done back in March of 2022. Now the Russians are saying there's no way they're going to negotiate with Zelensky at all. And some of the other stuff that's taken place now, that again, we've done this before. We've been down this road before. What they're calling her Marjorie Taylor Greene. And I'm no fan. I mean, I've made fun of Marjorie Taylor Greene on plenty of occasions here on the program. They're calling her Moscow Marjorie. Yeah. Moscow Marjorie, because again, she's against sending this money over to Ukraine. Again, that was one of the things that Mike Johnson was supposed to do. We're going to do this. We're definitely supposed to have some change on the border. We're not getting that. I thought about that a little bit. Again, politicians, they love their little juvenile nicknames, and politicians from both sides. Okay, make no bones about it. Trump loves this nonsense too. And again, it's juvenile. Doesn't raise a level of discourse. How can one not say that there's not a point to be had about not sending money over to the Ukraine? Not to mention the fact that, again, you're not paying for it. I'm a big believer. You're going to start wars. Okay, raise taxes. Raise taxes. Let's see how rah-rah everybody becomes when you have to start raising the money for these wars. It actually took me back. This is back in, remember, 2003? And W and his axis of evil, and decides he wants to invade Iraq. And what was it? Was it Bob Ney and Walter Jones, two members of Congress? They actually changed the name at the House cafeteria. Remember, it was no longer French fries; it was Freedom Fries. No longer French toast; it was Freedom Toast. And these are members of Congress acting like children because France wasn't a member of the coalition of the willing. Remember that? The coalition of the willing were under W. And guess what? France was right. Oh, yeah. Bill O'Reilly was remember, he was selling boycott France bumper stickers on his Fox website back at that point in time, and actually claimed that he had some sort of effect on the French economy, which was complete utter BS. Anyway, again, I just don't take things at their face. People, you can't do it. You have to do a little bit of reading. You have to do a little bit of homework. And with something like this, if somebody has a different opinion than you do, you have to listen. Again, these questions that I bring up here on the program, when it comes to this, why are these things not being asked? How the hell is Markowski coming up with these very simple questions? Okay. What's the overall plan? Where is it going to go? I mean, where is the money going to come from? What about the corruption? All of these things, just simple. We have got the comeback to this, to me, is always like, well, then you must be pro Putin. You must be pro Putin. You're on Vladimir's side. No, I'm just asking questions that need to be asked. When you are, again, taking taxpayer money, you could further escalate a conflict with a nuclear power. I mean, there's a myriad of questions that need to be asked that, quite frankly, nobody's asking. WatchDog on WallStreet.com.